Alright, what I'm going to do in this video is just get you started, show you how to create user accounts and then how to make the connections to those in the developer tool. I'll show you a real quick cut and paste of our SQL table data to set up the Colonial Tours database and just give you kind of an overview of the environment that we're going to be working in for the rest of the semester. So I'm going to go ahead and log in. I've got the command line set up here. I'm going to come in here and connect using the system password. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to create user. I'm going to make up something. I need to identify it, meaning set a password for it. I'm just going to do Tarleton. Should tell me that user is created. So once that account's created, I just need to go in and assign privileges so it can allow this user account to connect to the database. So I'm going to use the grant clause. I'm going to grant connect. That's a comma in the instructions if you can't see that. And then you're going to connect the resource to the account that you just set up. Once you get grant succeeded, you're good to go and you can get out of the command prompt. And so then what you'll do is you'll open up Oracle SQL Developer. You can run this from the exe file that you installed. And the first thing that you need to do is set up a connection to the database. So with the connection tab up, I'm going to go ahead and hit the plus sign. You can name the connection thing, excuse me, anything you want. So I'm going to name this Leah S connection, the username that you're going to use that you just set up, and the password that you created as well. Go ahead and leave localhost name, port, and everything alone. Go ahead and click save. You can test it. You get a success status right here showing that that worked. Once you have that set up, you can go ahead and close that down. And notice now over here in the connections area is my database connection. When I expand that, I see all of the functionality that I can use. This is actually a much more complicated product than we're going to see. But what we're going to be interested in here is the tables. And at this time, we don't have any tables loaded yet. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and grab the Oracle Colonial Corrected SQL. This is what you can download from the Oracle tables in Blackboard. I'm going to edit, select all, and then I'm going to edit copy. And I'm just going to come into the SQL worksheet here. I'm going to paste that in. And then I'm going to go ahead and push the play button. So what happens is it shows me that I have an error starting at line 479 in command. And what this means, and you have to be aware of this when you're running the SQL, whatever's highlighted is actually what is going to be executed once you run that. And so if I highlight more than one thing, if I highlight everything, and you can right click and you can do a select all to save you some time. But once you have the entire SQL statement highlighted, then when you click run, you're going to see your output down here. So it's going to tell you that it's going to create the tables, and then it's going to insert all of the data that is in that statement. So if we wanted to then come down and do another insert, we can come in and we can insert into trip guides values, and I'm just hopefully gonna make these up. Actually, let's go ahead and name 38 comma BR01 and end that with a semicolon. And so what I can do now is I can just highlight just that bit of the code and hit the key. And so I didn't get an error. So that's pretty much your worksheet here, what you're going to run mostly here. There are some editing tools that you can get familiar with as you go along, but generally speaking, highlight what you want and then go ahead and click this. So if I come in here, I can, well, I'll come back and do a select statement in a minute. What I want to do is show you your connections over here. Notice I still don't have anything under tables, and I know that's not true because I just loaded those tables. This area has to be refreshed from time to time to make sure that it's showing the latest connection with the database. So if something's wrong and you don't see what you're expecting here, click the little blue refresh button, and what it'll do is it'll reconnect to the database and make sure that it is up to date. And so now you can see our 5 tables that we added. If we click and expand this, it's going to show us the names of our tables. I'm sorry, the fields of the table. So it also shows us our data type. It tells if null values are allowed and any other things we want to see about the database. And we have that with all of our tables here. So again, let's go ahead and go back to this. And what I'm going to do now is show you what happens if you drop those tables. So I'm going to copy the drop statements that are also available in Blackboard. And again, I can highlight these things, run it, and it tells me that the table was dropped. You'll do this from time to time if you're playing along and you add data you don't want to, or you mess up the tables that you're working with. All you have to do is come in here, issue the drop statement, and then you do exactly like you did before. You copy the code from the notepad that has the data in it, or you go right back up into your history that's still on this worksheet, drag and highlight. If you don't want to do highlight all because it would grab those drop statements too, but you can highlight those, run those again, and your tables are back where they started. So this is pretty much what you're going to do throughout the semester. You're going to go into your worksheet here and you're going to execute your SQL statements. So I'm going to select all from customers, where, and I'm going to open up my customer table here so I can see what the name of it is. Last name, underscore, is equal to, and I'm going to go ahead and choose one of the customers from our table. So I highlight that, I run that, and it tells me that my table or view does not exist. So I made an error. I look at it closely. I see that the table name's not customers, it's customer. So I highlight that, I run it again, and there in my output down here in the second part of the screen, it's going to show me the record that I selected. So what I do want to point out is that most of the time SQL is not going to be case sensitive. So you saw me struggling with the capital letters earlier. I don't really have to. My select is in mixed case. My customer, the name of my table, which is in cap letters here, is not in cap letters here. So when you turn in your assignments, what I want to see is I want to see this entire window. In particular, I want to see your connections. I want to see the query that you created, and then I want to see as many results that show up. Later on, we'll have some queries that retrieve quite a few things and they won't fit in the entire window. That's fine. I'm really mostly concerned with your queries and your connections. The other thing you want to be sure you do in your assignments when instructed is if you highlight this, copy it, and then paste it under your screenshot in your Word document. It's just a little bit easier for me to read sometimes than what shows up in your screenshot from the SQL developer. So that's pretty much the intro. On the first set, you're going to set up some tables and insert some data. After that, we'll start going after specific records with our select statement.